A triple threat storm is coming? Weather Update American Cities, #140. A dangerous storm is brewing right now across the United States, and it's throwing us a major curveball. Just in time for Valentine's Day weekend, this system is set to pack a serious punch with widespread impacts. We're talking about a triple threat here: severe weather, potential flooding, and now a surprising risk of heavy snow. Starting today, the southern states are on high alert for damaging winds, large hail, and even a few tornadoes stretching all the way from Texas to Florida. This will also bring a ton of rain. But hold on, that's not the whole story. The most surprising part of this forecast is how some of the computer models are now leaning towards a much snowier outcome for this storm. We could see a band of heavy snow break out late, Sunday night into early Monday across parts of the Ohio Valley and the Northeast. Depending on the exact track and how strong this thing gets, we could see anything from a few flurries to several inches of snow. On top of that, 2 more winter storms are eyeing the U.S. for next week. So let's dive into the details you absolutely need to know. We've got some big updates on the severe weather threat this weekend, and we really need to talk about why some areas could be digging out from a heavy snowfall. Let's start with the severe weather potential for today and tomorrow. The threat level has been upgraded to a slight risk across a wide area, including Houston, Texas, stretching over into central Louisiana and southwestern Mississippi, with a broader threat zone covering areas from Oklahoma to Alabama. The biggest worry for today is going to be damaging winds, which are expected to be embedded within a line of powerful thunderstorms. We could also see some quarter-sized hail popping up in a few of the stronger storms. But the most serious concern is the tornado risk. Right now, about 23 million people are included in at least a low-end tornado threat for today. The highest potential for tornadoes will stretch from around the Houston area eastward into Louisiana, near Baton Rouge, so please be on high alert. That main line of thunderstorms could be capable of spinning up a few embedded tornadoes, especially this evening and into the overnight hours. This is the kind of situation where you absolutely need to have multiple ways to get weather alerts, especially one that can wake you up. Have your tornado action plan ready to go, just in case. And the danger doesn't stop tonight. On Sunday, another heightened risk of severe weather will shift into the southeast, with a line of storms trekking across Georgia and Alabama. Things could get particularly dangerous Sunday afternoon. The main threat is being driven by a tornado risk, and there's a real possibility that some powerful, individual storm cells could form out ahead of the main line. Because of this, forecasters have warned that even strong tornadoes are a possibility on Sunday across parts of the southeast. For now, it's a conditional threat, but it's something we are watching incredibly closely. It's crucial to stay weather aware through the entire weekend. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of today's severe weather risk by looking at the ingredients for tornadoes. What this shows us is where the greatest tornado threat will be today, and it's a very interesting setup. We'll have our main corridor of storms pushing towards Houston and Lake Charles this afternoon. But there's a second quirky area to watch. Late today, there's a chance for a cold core tornado setup over in western Oklahoma and north-central Texas, which could produce a few funnel clouds. That cold core setup isn't expected to be a major threat, but if you're in that part of Oklahoma or Texas, keep an eye on the sky this evening for some funnel clouds or maybe even a very brief tornado. The bigger concern is what happens tonight near Houston. The atmospheric ingredients will become much more favorable for tornadoes as wind shear really starts to crank up. If any single discrete storm cell manages to form there, it will have a much better shot at producing a tornado than the ones in the main line. From there, the tornado threat will continue rumbling eastward through the overnight hours. It will be a random, hit-or-miss threat embedded within the squall line, but places like Jackson, Mississippi, all the way to Mobile, Alabama, will need to be on guard. That risk will eventually start pushing into the Florida Panhandle as we head into the early morning hours on Sunday. It's that overnight threat that is always the most dangerous, so having those alerts ready to go is absolutely essential for your safety. Now for the timeline. Across the southern plains today, expect a whole lot of rain, stretching from Missouri down through Arkansas. You'll hear some rumbles of thunder, but severe weather isn't expected that far north. A large cluster of storms will be ongoing this morning over the Dallas-Fort Worth area. While the severe risk is low, I can't completely rule out an isolated damaging wind gust. After lunchtime, the line pushes east, bringing heavy rain to Arkansas that could lead to localized flooding in spots. The main severe weather show really gets going this afternoon, stretching from Texarkana down towards Austin, Texas, This is where we expect scattered damaging winds around 60 to 65 miles per hour. The tornado threat will also begin to ramp up, especially after 5 p.m. as we head into the evening. This line of storms is not going to quit as it pushes into Louisiana, which will likely see the greatest potential for tornadoes tonight before the whole system continues its relentless march to the east. As we get into the overnight hours, that tornado risk is still going to be a real concern. It won't be a high-end, widespread outbreak, but there will still be a possibility of a couple of tornadoes hidden within that line of storms near Jackson and even down towards New Orleans. Seriously, I can't stress this enough. Please make sure you have a way to receive warnings tonight that will wake you up if you're in the path. A plan can make all the difference when a warning is issued in the middle of the night. Looking ahead to Sunday, the tornado threat continues, though it should die down a bit around daybreak in Alabama and Mississippi. However, it's expected to roar back to life in the afternoon as the wind shear increases again. A pocket of warm, unstable air will make its way into the Florida Big Bend and southern Georgia, creating an environment where a couple of tornadoes could spin up. If we see any of those discrete supercells develop, they could produce a strong tornado, which is a significant concern. The greatest risk for that kind of activity on Sunday will likely be near Jacksonville, Florida, and just to the north of Gainesville. So if you're in that area, you need to be on high alert. This isn't too far from where the Daytona 500 is happening, by the way. There's even a low-end risk for a tornado down into central Florida. Here's the timing for tomorrow. The initial line of storms will weaken by daybreak, leaving just an isolated damaging wind threat in central Alabama for the morning hours. Then, right around lunchtime, things get interesting. We'll be watching a line of thunderstorms redevelop and move across the Panama City area. This is where we'll be watching for that heightened tornado risk. If discrete supercells form out ahead of this line, a strong tornado or two will be possible. Even if they don't, the line itself will still produce damaging winds and a few embedded tornadoes. By 3 to 4 p.m., any of those individual cells will likely get absorbed by the main line of storms. That powerful line will then be racing toward the Daytona 500 around 5 to 6 p.m., eventually pushing through Orlando. At that point, damaging winds will be the primary concern. The tornado risk should start to wind down after 7 p.m. as the line moves closer to areas like Melbourne and Tampa Bay, where the threat becomes very low. This is going to be a fast-moving, high-impact event for the Florida Peninsula during the afternoon and evening hours, so you'll want to have your Sunday plans wrapped up early. And with all this activity, it's going to be very wet. We're anticipating a widespread 1 to 3 inches of rain from Dallas and Abilene all the way over to Nashville, Tennessee. Some areas in Arkansas, especially near Memphis, could easily pick up around 2 to 4 inches of rain. We could even see some localized spots between Memphis and Little Rock get drenched with 5 or even 6 inches of rainfall. For a region that has been a bit dry, the rain is welcome, but that much at once will cause flooding. Now, let's talk about the snow. Because there is a real possibility that parts of the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast could see some accumulation tomorrow. This is not a guarantee yet. It's a very tricky forecast that is going to come down to the storm's exact track and intensity. But models have been trending a little more to the north over the last 24 hours. If that trend continues, we could be looking at a large area of snow tomorrow evening across Maryland, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and southern New England. For now, the most likely scenario seems to be a general coating to 3 inches for most of those areas. However, if the storm tracks just right and really gets its act together, we could easily see more than that. Some of the more aggressive models show the potential for upwards of 6 to 8 inches of snow in some localized areas. We really need to keep a close eye on this. The GFS model, for example, has this storm intensifying rapidly as it moves offshore, which would definitely lead to significant snowfall. And the wild weather pattern doesn't stop there. As we go into Tuesday and Wednesday, a very powerful atmospheric river event is expected to slam into the west coast. Some of that energy will then travel over the Rockies and into the northern plains. This sets the stage for a large winter storm threat by late Tuesday and Wednesday across the northern plains, the Midwest, and the Great Lakes. Another storm could follow right behind that one as we head into Thursday and Friday of next week.